On this special Democracy Day episode of Nigeria Today, we'll focus on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's address to the joint session of the National Assembly, marking 26 years of unbroken democratic rule in Nigeria. In a speech delivered before the National Assembly, the president reflected on Nigeria's democratic journey so far, paying tribute to iconic figures of the June 12 struggle and outlining his vision for a stronger, united, and economically resilient nation. He underscored the need for collective sacrifice and responsible governance to safeguard the gains of democracy. President Tinubu also reaffirmed his commitment to electoral reforms, good governance, and the rule of law. His address served as both a reminder of the strides made and a call to action for Nigerians to stay engaged in the democratic process. Tonight, we will break down the key messages from his address, from political unity to economic transformation, and from security to national honors bestowed on heroes of democracy. Thank you for joining us on the program. I am your carrier, Clinton. With me in the studio to discuss the President's address is a diplomacy and human capital development expert, Ambassador Korede Martins. It's a pleasure to have you in Nigeria today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Also with us for the conversation is the Director, Special Duties and State Operations, National Orientation Agency, David Akoji. Thank you for joining us.
Evening, Bukeria. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Ambassador Martins, President Tinubu reflected on the struggle for democracy and paid tribute, to June 12, June 12 heroes. How important is this recognition for national healing and democratic consolidation?
Thank you so much. To whom much is given, much, much more is expected. People laid down their lives. People struggled. People were beaten, manhandled, hunted, jailed. A lot of people had to run to exile, because of this. It is imperative and just right, as Mr. President had done, to give honors, recognition, and appreciate those we see as heroes of democracy today. We cannot forget, the point man himself, late President-elect Bashorun M.K. Abiola, GCFR. We cannot forget his amiable wife, Alhaja Kudrat Abiola. We cannot forget his Vice President-elect, His Excellency Ambassador Bagana Kingibe, GCON. We cannot forget Apa Alfred Rewane and quite a number of people. Mr. President himself, who took the gauntlet by taking over the struggles when the military government incarcerated Chief M.K.O. Abiola and led that struggle. Some of us were in the trenches. Some of us had to do a lot of things from Ahmadu Bello way, Victoria Island, all to Ikorodu along the line, back to Juelegba, to Aguda and back. We had to do a lot to ensure that we kept the fire of the struggles burning, at the time. So quite a number of people who are heroes of democracy. It is just right, as Mr. President had given honors and recognition to them. We will not also forget, because we will be ungrateful, to appreciate Mr. President having also recognized and mentioned in honor the immediate past president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, to have recognized that June 12 become Nigeria's Democracy Day and declared that, of a truth, late Chief M.K. Abiola won that election and declared as President-elect of Nigeria by virtue of protocol. So Mr. President did the right thing, and we must commend him for being a good statesman for this.
I also want to get your perspective on this same issue, this same, recognizing people that fought for democracy.
You see, the person we have currently as our president has left significant footprints on our nation's democracy, evolving up until today. His sense of the need for national healing is profound. He did not begin to exhibit it now that he became president. it was his advocacy and others along with him that pushed for June 12th to now be recognized by the government of President Muhammadu Buhari as our National Democracy Day. And then for the nation, through President Buhari at the time, like Ambassador said, to admit that Abiola won that election and to decorate him with the commensurate national honor for a president posthumously, GCFR, you know. So this is not the first time that the president is taking steps and leading from the front in the advocacy for government to take actions that will lead to national healing. You know, it started with the admission of Abiola's victory by Buhari's government and the appropriate, you know, so what he's doing now, the holistic pardon of the Ogoni Nine is a significant healing panacea, you know, that I'm sure would be appreciated by the South-South, who at the moment hosts the food basket for our country, you know. So that was a strategic move by the president, and it definitely will lead to some level of national healing. The open recognition of our martyrs for democracy, many of them still alive, a number of them no longer alive, is also a healing panacea. And there's a story that it tells. It tells that in the long term, the heroes, I mean the labors of our heroes past shall not be
in vain.
Yeah, in vain. And then it's an encouragement, you know, for others who are seeing all of this, you know, and who are going through some kind of pain or the other, to know that at some point in time, providence will bring the appropriate reward for the labors that that they have put in place. So I think it's a move in the right direction. I commend the president and his team for thinking, you know, along these lines. The award of national honors on all of the heroes of democracy of that time was a very dangerous time, Eukarya. I was freshly out of the university, very active as at the time at the University of Jos. I was vice president. Okwemi Bamidele was our NANS president as at that time. So we're involved in quite a number of these moves. All the names that the president was calling today are names that are very familiar to me, you know, even as a student activist at the time. And it personally gave me a sense of joy and fulfillment when I heard him reeling this out, recognizing them on a national platform, and then giving them these awards of recognition.
So indeed, their struggle was not in vain.
It was not in vain.
So let's talk about, you know, that part where the president, you know, denounced allegation that APC is aiming for, you know, one-party state. How does this statement reinforce political tolerance in a democratic setting?
Political tolerance in a democratic setting? People have a right to, people have rights to their opinions, as the case may be. And in a democratic setting, under the laws that we all believe in, the law of natural justice says that human beings have the right to associate, have the right to decide where they belong. You know, if I decide to jump ship to another party, from party A to party B, it is my right under the Freedom of Association Charter, you know, as enshrined in our Constitution, in, you know, whatever protocols you might talk about worldwide. Mr. President has said it, that for him, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, he does not have any plan or discussion to make Nigeria a one-party state. Neither is he thinking that he will present any form of bill or make any move before the authorities, probably the National Assembly legislature, to suggest that Nigeria becomes a one-party state. It's all about democracy. You have the right to join another party if you're not satisfied with where you are, and jokingly and seriously so. Peradventure, you decide to jump ship to the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party currently, the doors are wide open. People do not reserve the right in a democracy to close the doors against those who intend to come into a particular political party, in this instance, the All Progressives Congress. There must be something in the party they are seeing that is beneficial to them. About 32 governors in the country, quite a number of high percentage of legislators, both at the federal and state levels, jumping ship into the APC. There must be something that we are seeing. There must be things that are being built foundation for this country. There are policies and programs that will be beneficial, that are being beneficial and will be beneficial to the country, that are being seen before people decide to say, okay, I'm jumping ship, I'm going into the All Progressives Congress. So they are welcome.
And also highlighted the fact that all parties should put their house in order.
Why not?
Right?
Yes.
Put your house in order.
Put your house in order, because I'm not going to help you to do it.
David has something to say about it.
Yes. There are two sides to this conversation on, the threat and the possibility of a one-party state. What the president said today, I hope opposition parties were listening, because if they weren't, then they wouldn't get the import of the key points that the president highlighted while talking about the threat of a one-party state. The president described to them his own political journey. At the point in time, he was the only governor standing. You understand? In his party.
In another party, yeah.
In his geopolitical zone. By the hook or by the crook, all the other states had been literally annexed by the party in power, at that time. But he stood his ground, and he's been building from there up until today, that there are now 32 governors on that platform. That should teach a lesson to opposition leaders. They should not be laid back. They should not think that anything will be handed to them on a platter. Power struggle has no history of voluntarily handing over power to anybody. That's one side of the story. And I agree with the president completely on this. He says he's happy that they are in disarray. He should be, because it helps his own political platform to be stronger and to continue delivering on their own vision, for the country. If this situation were reversed, you'd be hearing the same conversation from any other party.
Exactly.
That is in power at this time. So these are lessons to learn for the opposition. They have a big task, and he is an evidence of towing that part and emerging victorious and being president today. So they should stop all this complaining and finger biting and all of that and go to work.
Go to work, they should.
Yeah. Yes,
and I'd like to also say that, at the
Of
time, some time ago, you had the other political party, I don't want to start mentioning names now, that about 27 governors were in that party. A lot of other members of the opposition jumped ship, joined them, 27 in that party. Complaints here and there. So a complaint of such is natural. But to now take it that once somebody is trying to have a one-party state is cynical, and that should not be encouraged.
The flip side is this. I told you there are two sides to it. I see you're under pressure. Let me just quickly highlight this one.
No, you highlight it, but we'll take a short break now. The conversation will continue after the break. Don't go away.
Situation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different?
We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that our questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Welcome back. This is Nigeria Today, and we're looking at the president's address on this Democracy Day, and of course I have two gentlemen here in the studio. Now I'll still continue with you, David. The president also spoke passionately about tolerance, freedom of speech, and the need for leaders to endure criticism. Now, how important is this, in shaping civic engagement in a democracy?
Civic engagement is an important aspect of democracy. In this part of the world, we must misconstrue democracy to end with contestation for electoral positions and the process of voting. That's the psyche, But civic engagement is what actually ensures the delivery of dividends of democracy, And civic engagement is supposed to provide platforms for alternative views, for people to come up with ideas that will improve on the governance style that is ongoing. And since we're talking about civic engagement, let me quickly make a point about the second component that I was talking to you about. It's also civic engagement. For those opposition parties that are worried about cross-carpeting, a lot of their members crossing over from their party to the ruling party, there are processes and procedures to address this, So why don't they engage to ensure that these processes and procedures are activated, and brought to light, so that if the processes and procedures as established in the electoral law would lead to the stopping of this, then we can see it stop, and then we can come to a period where we see parties evolving on the basis of ideology, and then we can distinguish one party from another on the basis of ideology. But there are constitutional provisions in the Electoral Act to address this. So why don't they engage, and then highlight all of this and pursue it to logical conclusion? So these are the two sides.
So, Ambassador Martins, having spoken about civic engagement, what role should citizens play in sustaining democratic gains mentioned by the president, especially in the area of holding leaders accountable?
It's always good to hold leaders accountable. We all know that, yes, leadership has roles to play. That's why we've democratically elected them into office, and also those who have been given appointive positions, those who are also up there in the civil service to deliver, make good the policies and programs of government. The citizens do have a role to play. The roles by the citizens is ensuring that our national values in the areas of integrity and patriotism, very, very, very important, that citizens, engage in this. Whereas, as Nigerian citizens, whatever we do at all, we must ensure that we do the right thing at all times, say the right things at all times, make Nigeria first in our minds in every consideration, that this is my country. I will not do anything untowards against her in the area of patriotism and integrity. It is imperative for citizens also to bring leaders, make them accountable. Mr. President said it succinctly today. Nobody should be afraid of criticism. The citizens have a right to criticize leadership. And the leadership must have, that shock absorber, let me say proverbially, to take in every criticism by the citizenship. You don't react. You don't take away the right of the citizens to complain about issues. It is your right as a leader to look at what they are talking about and see how you can make a change, do the right thing.
And when they don't understand, you explain to them.
You explain to them. Like somebody said earlier, that you can not over-inform the citizenry, but you can under-inform them. You don't have to go to sleep. You have to keep informing. After all, they say that faith cometh by hearing and hearing. So citizen engagement is very important, that we all have our roles to play as a people, both the governed and government.
Now, if you look at the speech, it ended with a powerful line. Our democracy is not invincible, but it is alive. Now, how should this, inspire Nigerians moving forward?
You see, that is a call to action. A democracy is not invincible, means that all of us collectively have a duty to protect it. You know, because it can be killed. Out of neglect, out of not doing the right things, you know, that we're supposed to do and all. But he says it is alive. It means that where we are today, our democracy is still alive and growing. So it's a call to action, you know, that the president made at the end of that speech. And also a warning that all of us collectively should be aware of the fact that the democracy we have today is mortal. And because it's important to all of us, we have roles to play to ensure that it lives and thrives and continue to live.
Now, Ambassador Martins, beyond politics, the address called for unity and neighborliness, you know, across diversities. How can this translate to action?
We cannot do without unity as a people. We cannot do without, you know, ensuring we have good neighborliness. What are we going to rather do if we are not united as a people? Unity, peace, and progress mean the mantra of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Those are the things we need to ensure as a people that we guard seriously. National progress will only come based on our unity, based on our tolerance as a people, based on the peace that we dearly need. And that is how good neighborliness and national progress, you know, can come as a people. We have to be intentional about this. We'll make up our minds that rather than us going apart, we come together. Yet our differences are there. But there has to be strength. The strength in our diversity must keep us together continually as a people. And that's the essence of unity. And as neighbors, we are diverse from different ethnic groups, different languages, but we're under one umbrella of Nigeria as a nation, the motherland. It is imperative for us that we may grow, that we may prosper, that we may progress, that our house be in order, united we stand. May we not be divided.
Amen. Amen to that. Now, David, what would be one message to Nigerians? You know, as much as we would say the democracy is 26 years, there are still a lot of challenges, a lot of things we need to do. Just like you've rightly mentioned, you know, we have to be together. So what would be that one message to Nigerians on the democracy?
You know, I urge all of us to reflect on how it was before we got this democracy. And inside of that reflection, to recognize the fact that, like the president said, our democracy is not invincible, you know, and that we all have a commitment to ensure that democracy is strengthened for the benefit of all of us and the benefit it provides compared to the alternative which we do not wish. Now, my last word is this. While the president was calling out the National Honors Award, you know, on each of the people, I noticed that for Senator Ame Ebute that he kept mentioning, who was Senate President at the time that he was Senator, and who with him reconvened the Senate at a very dangerous time to declare the military government illegal. I noticed that what has been conferred on him is CON, you know, which is not what his equivalents today are getting. I also noticed that people who did not occupy such significant national position got GCON, you know. So I wish that that is reconsidered and reviewed.
Okay. So 30 seconds, what will be your word, your final word to
My
Nigerians?
final word, one, I want to appreciate Mr. President for considering Professor Humphrey Nwosu for that national honors, because I was at the National Assembly when there was a heated debate about this. Yes, the man tried his best, but your best may not be good enough when you didn't announce the results, despite all aids. But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as the current father of the nation, a large-hearted elder statesman, has decided to confer on him that honors for his role to make sure that the election held. Congratulations to all Nigerians. Happy Democracy Day.
And happy Democracy Day to you,
Thank you very
gentlemen.
much. Thank you very much.
And on that note, we end today's episode of Nigeria Today. A very big thank you to Ambassador Korede Martins, a diplomacy and human capital development expert. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And David Akoji, the Director of Special Duties and State Operations, National Orientation Agency, in a way.
Thank you very
so
much,
for
Ikaria.
coming.
Yeah.
And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Ikaria Clinton. Goodbye.